Hey folks, welcome to this week's show. You know, back when I was a young trapper, just getting started out, there was just something about the mink that just drove me insane. I was starting to figure out how to catch, foxes, reds and grays, and even putting up a lot of coon numbers and even some muskrats. But that elusive mink, I could not figure out how to catch them. And then as I grew older, we started figuring it out. And then I had a love for otters. Being from Pennsylvania, we didn't have otters. We weren't allowed to trap them. So as I got older and made some relationships, I got a chance to go down south and start pursuing them. This week, we're going to give you best of both worlds. We're chasing mink in Pennsylvania, and we're headed south to one of my favorite states, Mississippi, to chase otter. This is trapping time.
Well, look who I got out of bed this morning to go check traps. Never gets old seeing those dogs bouncing.
This is my story. This is my time. This is Trapping Time. Trapping Time is brought to you by Trapping Girl Incorporated, Night Owl Lures, Old South Lures, Southern Snares and Supply, Smokey's Deer Lure, Trap Shed Supply, Webster's Predator Control, Duke Traps, Wolf Creek Products, Sawmill Creek Baits and Lures.
Alright guys, we got some mink and muskrat traps down along this creek right here. It's probably one of my favorite little creeks to trap because it's close to where I grew up at, and it's usually good for a muskrat or two and an occasional mink. We got some sets here at this bridge. We're probably looking at maybe 100 yards total of trap line here. We're in southwestern PA. We're not overrun with muskrats and mink like they are in other parts of the country. So we like to stay close to the road. That way we can hit as many places as possible. So let's get down here and check and see if we got lucky enough to catch anything. Let's go. All right. We're going to go down here. Our first set is your good old-fashioned bridge abutment set. They just put this new bridge in here last year. I was actually working for a company right down the road, and I thought, boy, they get that bridge in there. It used to just be an old open grate bridge. I thought, they get this bridge in here, this may just make a good place to snag a mink or a coon, and hopefully we get lucky enough and we'll get down here and see if we got anything. Guess what we caught? A stinking minkin'. Awesome. Awesome, awesome, awesome. Not a super monster one, but you know what? He's a mink. Anytime you catch a mink in southwestern PA, it's a trophy. Let's get a look at him here. As you can see, if you look, we got all water coming down through here, and I moved a couple rocks there just to kind of make him go tight against the bank there. I put a little bit of Old South backwater mink, and you can actually still see it on the wall there, just to give him a reason to kind of come up and stop. Now if you looked at this side of the stream, we've got a big old sandbar. There was just no place that I could kind of corral him in, so my best bet was going to be right here against that bank. So it worked out perfect. Got my chain and grapple set up. He got out in the water at 1.5, put him right underneath the water. Insane. All right, let's get this set remade and get a look at this mink.
Man, I really love catching those mink. When we come back from the break, we're going to go to the Trapping Time Set of the Week.
From the hills of West Virginia, Smokey's Deer Lures presents the first and only real pre-orbital gland lure in the world. Applying pre-orbital gland lure to a licking branch will allow you to take a complete inventory of the bucks at your favorite hunting spot. Get yours at smokiesdeerlure.com.
This portion of the show has been brought to you by the Duke Pro Series 550 Offset Cool Spring Trap. Be sure to check it out wherever Duke traps are sold.
Hey folks, if you're looking for something that works well on the coyotes and doesn't wash away after the first rain, then One Night Stand by Southern Snare and Supply is a match made in heaven. This is a long-lasting coyote lure that is just the right amount of aged glands and fewer lesser-known ingredients to help entice even the most weary song dogs. This lure brings out the instinct for mating and guarding territory. Make One Night Stand the last thing he ever smells.
Hey folks, we're going to take a break in the action right here, and I want to talk about a little bit in depth about the setup that I'm using. A lot of you guys might remember back from the Muskrat Show a few episodes ago, actually episode 3, I touched on a little bit about the setup that I'm using for water trapping. I just really started using it last season after a lot of trial and error with a lot of different methods, and it seems to really work good for me. I'm going to break it down for you and just tell you a little bit about the gear that we're using, how I have it set up, and it may be something that you want to try on your line. Basically, we're going to start out with, I'm using a Duke 1.5. For my style of trapping and where we're trapping out here in southwestern Pennsylvania, this is a perfect trap for me. It beds easy, it's light as far as me carrying it, but yet heavy enough that if I catch any of these water animals, it's strong enough to hold them down, get them drowned, and so we can move on. Plus, it's also strong enough that any raccoons that we're going to catch, we don't have to worry about them getting loose because it's going to have a good enough grip on it that it's not going to be an issue. I like to paint my traps, especially my water traps. I like to paint them black. Nothing fancy. You can paint them any color you want. I do it more, not so much for camouflage, but more for, I want my gear to last. I mean, this is an investment, guys. Whether you're paying $5 a trap or $20 a trap, it's still an investment. You know, with fur prices being what they are, you know, we got to take care of as much gear as we can because we don't want to keep buying traps every year. As far as everything else here goes, I add a swivel to the already existing chain that comes with the factory Duke trap. And then I'm going to add 5 foot of number 2 cable, or excuse me, number 2 chain on here. This is the same exact chain that I'm using on my coyote traps. So I always have a lot of it laying around. It's a lot easier for me to make these setups. So if I'm ordering chain, if I don't use it all for muskrat or mink setups, I've got chain that I can use on my canine traps as well. We're going to loop it to attach it to our drag. We're actually going to loop the chain through. You guys see I got my trap tag attached to my chain. We're going to loop it through and run it back through this crunch-proof swivel. Now, as far as drags go, we're using actually a fox and coyote drag. I went with the fox and coyote drag only because I wanted something that was strong enough, heavy enough, that if we did tie into a coon, he was going to not go very far and get hung up. It's a little heavier built, it's a little heavier drag. That way, if something would happen to get it out into the water, the weight of it's going to help hold the animal down to make a humane catch and dispatch. The 5 foot of chain, I found out that there's some places where I could probably use a little bit longer chain only because some of the streams that we're trapping in have really high steep banks. But for the most part, this 5 foot of chain plus the existing stock chain is more than enough to handle any of the trapping situations that I'm going to face going down the line. What else is nice about this whole setup is efficiency. You know, one of the biggest things that bothers me is when I reach into a trap basket or a trap box and everything's tie angled and strung up. As you've seen there, it didn't take me very long. I wound that chain up and got it all nice and tight. You know, water trapping's a little bit different than canine trapping for most of us. You know, for most of us, when we're trapping coyotes or foxes, we're trapping out of a buggy, a four-wheeler, truck, something where weight's not an issue. We're going to reach right into bed, pull out all of our gear that we need, make our set, put it back in, move on down. When you're trapping streams, that's not an option. Unless you want to make 100 trips back to the truck, you're going to try to carry as much gear as you can with you in some type of, whether it's like a Montana style bag, a fiber tough, or even the old wicker style trapping baskets that we all know and love. You can only carry so much stuff in there. You know, I'm a bigger guy. I weigh 260 pounds. I mean, I can carry a lot of weight, but why? Let's work smarter, not harder. You know, we want to make this as efficient and as fun. Because, I mean, here's the thing. If you're wore out every time you set a trap line, it kind of takes the fun away from it. I don't care who you are. But what's nice about this here is I can put half a dozen of these into a pack basket or a bucket or whatever you're using to carry your traps in. When I get to my set location, because I mean we're carrying these, but we may also be carrying some 110s for some underwater sets. But what I like about this is it's tight. I can reach down into my bag, my basket, whatever, pull it out, make my set, move on down. My hands aren't full of traps. You know, I may have a walking stick if I'm in water that I'm not really sure of. I might have a walking stick or my trowel. I might be going down through here popping pocket sets in. I've got my trowel in my hand, so I can go down here, make a pocket set, move on down. It's a fast and efficient way to put in water sets. You know, one of the reasons I kind of shied away from water sets growing up is because of all the hard work. Beavers especially. You can put so much work into a beaver set, it's mind-boggling. So when we got into the muskrats and mink, we wanted something that was just a little bit faster, so we didn't have to make 100 trips and wear ourselves out, so we could really enjoy the experience. This little setup here, I think if you try it, you're definitely going to like what it does for you and the results. Now come on, let's take a break from this and get back to the trapping action. Hey folks, be sure to check out our all-star lineup for the upcoming season. New for 2018 is the hard-hitting Blackout Predator bait. If you're looking for a beaver-based bait with some kick, this is it. We're also proud to add to the batting order our line of mouse-based baits. If you're looking for a mice bait so pure it's practically eating cheese in the container, then you will want to try Peyton's Pretty Mouse. Maybe you're looking for a bait with some long-range appeal for those cold winter nights, then you've got to try Peyton's Dirty Mouse. When you're serious about trapping predators like we are, then be sure to make your next purchase at Trapping Time TV. Hey folks, Robbie Gilbert here, host of Trapping Time TV. Hard to believe, Season 5. We'd like to give a big shout out to all the fans who made this possible. To show our appreciation, we're offering 10% off our entire website from now until December 31st, 2019. Just enter coupon code TRAP10. We carry a full line of trapping supplies such as Duke Traps, Webster's Predator Control Baits and Lures, Sawmill Creek, Trap Set Supply, Old South Lures, Night Owl Lures, and many more. Before your next trapping purchase, enter TRAP10 and take advantage of all the great deals at TrappingTimeTV.com. Folks, I guarantee if you use that little tip right there, it's going to put more fur in your shed. Now let's get back to the mink action.
Like I said before, this mink, when he came down through here, he was hugging this bank. And all we did was took a little of our backwater mink, and we're going to put a little bit more in there. This trap's only been out 2 days. This is the second night, so we got lucky there. It was kind of a storm front. It's kind of sticky. We'll keep that back in there. That way it gives them a reason. Naturally, they're probably going to come up this bank anyways, but we want to give them a reason just to kind of hug this bank. We want our trap tight against it. These rocks kind of just corral him in a little bit, but not a monster mink. Like I said, a mink nonetheless. Tickled to death. Awesome. Boy, does this stink. If this was smell-o-vision, you guys get a real good smell of what this bad boy's like. Got a real high leg catch on him. He got out in that water and it pulled him right under. That's what we want. We want it as humane as possible. All right, let's get this set remade, and we'll get a little bit of close-up here, and then we'll get down the road and see if maybe we can catch us another. Awesome. First mink of the season. Now we're going to take this mink out of his trap. Set him right there. Now we've got 5 foot of chain, number 2 chain on, the same as I use for my coyotes. We got J hooked off, and we've got it to a coyote grapple. I figured that way if we happen to get into a coon, I can't even pull that. There isn't a mink in America that's going to pull that thing. We're going to take our 1.5 and get it set back in the same exact spot. Now the water level's dropped a little bit since this trap was actually set. So we're going to take and clean this out a little bit more. I want this thing to be under the water. We already put our backwater mink back on there from Old South. We already get it back in there. Now we're going to get our trap set, we want to make sure it's solid. Just like when we're trapping coyotes or anything else. If that trap isn't solid, there's a chance that it may move. We don't want that. We want that trap as rock solid as we possibly can get. It's nice when you're water trapping, especially if you get in some of this mud, you can really get that trap anchored. Just make sure you don't get, a lot of times what will happen, when you push out, especially these 1.5s, you push that down in there, that mud will sometimes ooze up and get underneath the pan. So sometimes you just got to kind of watch, especially on that loose jaw side. You want to make sure that that mud doesn't get shoved up in there and make it hard for it to fire. You know, just like when you guys are putting polyfill and everything underneath our canine traps or a pan cover. We're not going to use a pan cover here because we're in the water, but we want to make sure nothing's underneath of it. So when he comes hopping along, smells that lure, bam. Do you need lure on this? No, but a lot of times, because what I was dealing with on the other side, there were so many places that this mink could have went. I wanted to make sure he concentrated on this side here. He come right down the water, bam, and we got him. Taking a nice mink out of here. Really, really nice Pennsylvania mink here. This is what it's all about. This is Thanksgiving tradition around here. Mink and muskrats. Awesome, awesome.
Head on down to Mississippi and chase some otters, my friend Justin Rogers.
All right, folks. Now, I've been coming to Mississippi for 4 years now, and there's always been an otter toilet right here, and I've tried everything to catch an otter here. I've tried catching him in the water. I've tried catching him up here. So finally, last night, I decided I was going to, his toilet was in the same exact spot. I buried 2 Duke 175s on each side of that toilet, and I put some Old South Black Bayou in there, and it was just enough to get this old dog to come up out of the top and get caught. When I pulled up here, Justin was sitting there waiting on me. I knew when he was sitting there, I'd caught something, but that's a beautiful otter. We're seeing a lot of otter sign this year. This is basically the second trap I've checked on this trip, and hopefully it says a lot what's going to happen on the rest of the trip. But beautiful. You know, I see all these guys on Facebook grabbing these coyotes by the scruff of the neck. I don't think I'd try it with that critter. I'd come closer to trying it with a coyote. That thing is built to kill. But I'm tickled to death. I mean, this is my favorite animal to trap. That's why we're here. Beautiful. All right, well, let's get him out of the trap, and we'll get this set remade, and I'll show you. We'll try and get it back as close as we can to what it was before. It might take a little ingenuity to get back in there, but I think we maybe I'll pick up another one here.
Well, you see, trappers are a special breed of people. We're dedicated, committed, and passionate about what we do and who we are. Each and every one of us has an intense desire to be the very best we can. So in the world of skinny jeans, man buns, and pumpkin spice lattes, sometimes you just have to stop, push back, and tell the world, that's not me. Whether you're from the far north or in the deep south, and anywhere in between, Southern Snares can help you succeed at getting the job done and being who you are.
From the hills of West Virginia, Smokey's Deer Lures presents the first and only real pre-orbital gland lure in the world. Applying pre-orbital gland lure to a licking branch will allow you to take a complete inventory of the bucks at your favorite hunting spot. Get yours at smokiesdeerlure.com.
Hey guys, let's take a little break here from the otter action, and I want to tell you a little bit of backstory about this whole set. You know, I've been trapping with Justin Rogers for going on 5 years now, and the inside joke is, you know, the only reason we even go back into this part of the swamp is because I've caught my first otter back there. And every year I continue to go back here because I continuously catch otter back here. The guys, they hate making that trek back in there because normally I'm the only one that catches any otters back here. And I'm the big TV star, so they all want to cater to me, and they play my little game. You know, we're all good friends, and we bust on each other all the time. But they humor me because I caught my first otter back here, and I continue to catch otters there every year. So every season, we go back to the swamp. Well, this actual location right here, I've been trying to catch an otter here every year. This otter toilet has been there since the first year we started going down there. And every year I either get flipped traps in the water level's going up and down. You know, I just cannot for the life of me catch an otter there. I said, you know what? Think outside the box. That's sometimes the best thing a trapper can do is think outside the box. I said, you know what? We're gonna catch this bugger. We're gonna catch him right at his toilet.
Now what we had here, you can see where these otters and stuff have been coming up out of here. Now, like I said, every year I've tried to catch them down here, Even made some dirt holes up here, just trying anything I could do to try to get this otter or a otter from this area. So what I did, there was a toilet right here. It's actually right here in the middle. So what I did, I took and came in and buried 2 175s, because we are canine trapping down here as well. I buried one on each side because I thought, I didn't know how he was going to approach the toilet, which was right there. So I figured this way here, I catch him from both sides, almost like a buried bait set, only using his own toilet against him. I mean, one thing about them, they're creatures of habit. So you kind of play on that, you got a good chance of catching one. I put this set in last night. We were coming out of the swamp, and I put this set in, I don't even want to say with the headlights of the bike because I didn't even have them on. It was pretty bad. But you want to check all your gear, make sure everything is good to go. Make sure your beds are where they need to be. Now we're going to reset this right here. I'm going to set it back up just the way I had it when I caught him. But there's cats down in this swamp, and we're kind of hoping, obviously I want to catch another otter, and that's what we're going to set for. But there's a good chance we're going to catch something else just because of all the smell that this old guy put out last night. Try to get that bed out a little bit more. One thing nice about here, you don't have to worry about it freezing up on you. So we can actually use the dirt, excuse me, to pack it back in. All right, we pretty much got it back to where it was originally. Now we're going to take our peat moss and cover it back up. Try to get it. I like to have everything back as level as possible. It just looks a little more natural. A lot of guys, they'll take and do depressions and things like that. Now I'm going to grab me some of this sand over here because we're going to blend this back in. Just try to get it blended in a little bit. We don't want to cause too much attention to everything, even though we got a big old burn circle here. All right, now what I did last night, I took our Black Bayou and put it right in the middle. That's what we're going to do again. That way he comes up to investigate it, or if he wants to start his toilet again, he gets moving around there. You know, our traps are solid. He gets moving his feet, there's a good chance we're going to bust him. Tickled to death. First Mississippi Otter of the Year caught on a land set. First for me. God, I love coming down here.
Hey folks, I really hope you enjoyed this week's show as much as we did bring it to you. You know, whether it's mink or otter, anytime you get out in the water and you're checking traps and hanging out with buddies, it's always a good time. Be sure to join us next week. We're spreading some holiday cheer. We're trapping Christmas Day coyotes right here on Trapping Time. And like we always say, we're keeping the tradition alive here at Trapping Time.